Welcome to Standard 8C. The goal of this standard is to explain events related to the unification of Italy and the role played by Italian nationalists in that process. The word unification refers to the process of bringing together many small pieces into one complete unified whole. Okay, so the essential question that we're trying to answer in this standard is what events led to that unification of Italy. Some essential understanding to help us understand this question. Some people might be wondering, isn't Italy very old? Well, the Italian language is old, Italian culture is old, but Italy as a country is relatively young. Italy becomes a unified nation state. That's a fancy word for country, long after the rest of most Western European countries. England, France, Spain, Portugal, those countries have been around for many, many centuries. But Italy as a political country is a relatively recent development. We see what we mean by that here on this map. This is taking a look back 200 years at Europe in 1815. Okay, and again, we see Portugal and Spain and Great Britain and France on this map. But if we take a look down where we would expect to see Italy on this map today, we don't see the word Italy. Instead, the Italian peninsula was divided up into many little states. The majority of the people in those states are going to speak Italian. Their culture is Italian, but there was no unified country of Italy for people of the Italian culture. Again, for French culture, there was France. For Spanish culture, there was Spain. For Portuguese culture, there was Portugal, but there was no Italy for Italians. And again, the 1800s was this period of strong feelings of nationalism. So the people in that red circle are going to start looking at France, Spain, Portugal, England, saying, we want a country for Italians. Okay, the essential knowledge we want to take away from this standard is we want to know the role played by two nationalists, a guy named Cavour and a guy named Garibaldi, and the role that each of them played in the unification of Italy. We see the two of them depicted in this cartoon from the time. Garibaldi's on the left, Cavour's on the right, and they're shown in the cartoon as shoemakers. Okay, and symbolically we see them working on putting together a boot, and the boot is symbolic here of Italy. You look at a map of Europe, Italy's fairly easy to pick out as the boot sticking out the south side of Europe. Okay, so the first piece of essential knowledge is we want to know the role played by Count Camillo Cavour, who unified northern Italy. I tell students to just try and remember the sound of his name. His last name, the name Cavour, it sounds like north. You're not going to rhyme Cavour with east or west or south. In terms of his name, Count is a title of nobility, like a duke or a lord. And Cavour is actually the town where he's from. His real name is Camillo Benso. Okay, but he's Camillo the Count from Cavour. And that was a town located in what's now northwestern Italy. And Cavour was a political leader. He was the prime minister of what at the time was known as the Kingdom of Sardinia, which included this area of northwestern Italy where he was from, as well as the island of Sardinia. But as a nationalist, he dreamed of something bigger than just this kingdom. He wanted all of those different states represented by the different colors to unify into one Italian state. Okay, so through his leadership, largely through diplomacy, through talking to the leaders of these other states, he's able to get them to agree to come together. So everything within that red outline, for the most part, was unified under the leadership of Cavour. Okay, at the same time Cavour was working to unify northern Italy, a guy named Giuseppe Garibaldi was busy unifying southern Italy. Okay, so the southern part of Italy, if we again look at our map, we're really referring to the area inside the red outline here. Okay, and this is unified by Garibaldi. Garibaldi, we can see in this cartoon, is the guy on his knees in the red shirt sliding the boot of Italy onto the leg of the king. Okay, again, a symbolic cartoon showing bringing Italy together. Notice once again Garibaldi here in red, and that's an important point to remember because Garibaldi had to bring this area together largely through military means, and he did it as the head of a force known as the Red Shirts, obviously due to the color of the clothing that they wore into battle. So while Cavour is symbolically unifying the North through diplomatic means, Garibaldi is unifying the South largely through military means. Okay, at this point now we have the northern part together and the southern part together. If we want to use, if you think about your leg as an example, Cavour has unified from the knee to your hip, Garibaldi from your knee down to your toes, but the knee isn't in place yet. Okay, and the knee in this case represents the Papal States, including the city of Rome, which were the last to join a unified Italy. We see the Papal States surrounded by the red outline here. Okay, so Cavour unifies everything above that area to the north of that area. Garibaldi unifies everything to the south of that area. The Papal States, so, are ruled by the Pope. And if you think back to your World I course, the Pope back centuries earlier really had political control over almost all of Western Europe. By the 1800s, that political control has dwindled down to almost nothing. Really, all that the Pope politically has control over was that area of central Italy known as the Papal States, including the headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church in Rome. So the Pope really has no interest in giving up these areas. The Pope's initial response to Garibaldi and Cavour is no way. But through continual pressure and even some threats, the Pope, who's also Italian, is eventually going to give in as well. We see here in this political cartoon from the time, there's the Pope on the left, that's Garibaldi standing to the right, and he's offering the Pope a new hat. Okay, and again, thinking back to the French Revolution, that would be one of those red liberty caps that you saw quite frequently in the French Revolution. Okay, again, as this feeling of nationalism built among Italians, the Pope found it very difficult to resist these calls to join the Papal States together as part of unified Italy, but eventually does. And that's all we need to know for Standard 8C.